It's been said that behind every great man is an even greater woman, and no one could argue with that statement more than Roman Emperor Claudius. You see, he had a wife who was not only beautiful, but also young, powerful, and very naughty. Some of the things Messalina did would make even the most crazed sex addict blush. Julia Misa was born in 20 AD in the Roman city of Nar, located in modern-day France. Her father was Marcus Julius Caesar, great-grandson of the first Roman Emperor Augustus, and uncle of the infamous Caligula. The wedding between Claudius and Messalina was arranged by Claudius's mother, Antonia. At the time, Messalina was only 21 years old, and many believed that the emperor had made a mistake by marrying such a young girl. Even Suetonius wrote that Messalina lacked feminine virtues. However, these people were wrong because Messalina turned out to be the perfect match for Claudius. Some believe that the stories are just propaganda created by her enemies to discredit her. However, ancient historians like Plutarch and Suetonius insist that the empress regularly left the palace at night dressed as a prostitute. She would hang around taverns and brothels, looking for men to sleep with. For a moment, they all wondered how she could possibly spend the night with each one of them. But Messalina was prepared. She had 8 couches lined up in a row, each with a full canopy, and a team of slaves ready to serve them at a moment's notice. The men were led to separate rooms one at a time, where they were served wine and delicacies. And when they were ready, Messalina joined them. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more crazy history. The wedding night continued until dawn, and by the end of it, all 8 men had had their fill of the empress. She may have been the most powerful woman in Rome, but on this night, she was just a woman of the night. Sometimes she even offered her services to the men, claiming that she was a virginal prostitute, who had never slept with anyone before. According to Suetonius, she was eventually executed on the orders of her husband Claudius. He was convinced by his mother, Antonia, who was tired of Messalina's shenanigans. But the real reason for her demise was probably her secret marriage to Gaius. When Claudius returned to Rome from Germania, he learned of his wife's betrayal. Enraged, he ordered Silius to be put to death and Messalina to be exiled. However, she managed to escape and fled to Greece, where she lived out the remainder of her days in luxury. Messalina was granted the title of Augusta and allowed to keep her fortune. Eventually, her husband agreed to allow her to return to Rome, but only if she agreed to divorce Silius. Although Messalina was forced to give up her lover, she was able to save her life and keep her wealth. It was not a bad deal, considering the alternative. The rumor has it that she proudly proclaimed, "I am a virgin, and I wish to lose my virginity tonight." Messalina's story has been immortalized in literature, art, and film. She has been portrayed as a tragic figure, a victim of circumstance, or a cautionary tale of what happens when a woman dares to defy the rules. But however you want to remember her, one thing is for sure. Messalina was one of the most unforgettable women of the ancient world. But Messalina wasn't your average hooker. She demanded extra payment from the men she slept with. To prove her identity, they had to pay a fee of 5,000 sesterces, a hefty price tag for a single night with a prostitute. However, it seems that this didn't bother the men of Rome, because the number of customers willing to pay for Messalina's services was endless. Once she even managed to seduce 100 men in one night, which was more than even the most experienced prostitute in the city could boast about. After she gave birth to their first child, a girl named Octavia, Messalina was able to secure her position as the Empress of Rome. According to Suetonius, she had a special liking for bald, short, or fat men. There are also rumors that she had a predilection for Greek and Egyptian men, and that she preferred men who were eunuchs. Perhaps this was because she had developed a hatred for all men due to her father's mistreatment of her when she was young. Or maybe she just liked variety and never settled for the same type of partner twice. Whatever her reason, it seems that nothing could stop her from sleeping with anyone she desired. She used her relationship with her mother-in-law to expand her own power and influence. If you think that's crazy, wait until you hear about the time Messalina got married to another man while her official husband was away. The story goes that one night, shortly after Claudius left for a trip to Germania, Messalina decided to throw a party. She invited 8 men to her private chambers, all of them bald, short or fat. However, the party took a scandalous turn when she had them sign false marriage contracts and declared that she was now their wife. What makes this story even more unbelievable is that she then announced that she would spend the wedding night with each one of them. The men were understandably surprised and not quite sure what to make of this bizarre situation, but they were also pretty excited at the prospect of spending the night with the Empress. It was an offer they couldn't refuse. She gifted expensive jewelry to influential women and prostitutes alike, which earned her a lot of respect from the lower classes. It seemed as if everything was going well for Messalina, but behind closed doors, her marriage was a disaster. Her mother was local chieftain's daughter, Livia. On the other hand, Messalina was extremely jealous and paranoid. Sources state that she often threw tantrums, screamed obscenities, and once ordered a pregnant slave girl thrown into the Tiber River, just because she reminded Messalina of her rival, Valeria. Claudius found this behavior appalling, but he couldn't do anything about it, because he needed Messalina's help to stay in power. The two divorced when Julia was still a child, and she went to live with her father. The problem was that Messalina was ambitious, and she wanted more than just being an empress. When the governor of Africa, her uncle Aulus Vitellius, invited her to spend a winter with him, Messalina accepted. She moved into his villa in Africa, but she wasn't alone. She brought along 4 men, Narcissus, Boris, Polly, and Gratus, who became her accomplices in a plot to overthrow her husband. However, the plan failed and her lover Burrus was put to death. Messalina's thirst for power and lust for men would eventually lead her down a path of destruction. She was never satisfied with what she had, and her insatiable appetite would cost her everything. He was a cruel man who chained her up in his bedroom at night for fear she would run around the house screaming, and he forced her to watch him engage in debauchery. Although her father was a pervert, Julia was still considered an attractive young woman, especially after her father's widow Domitia Longina died suspiciously in 36 AD without her stepmother around. Julia became even more beautiful because she inherited her long flowing red hair. This made her a prime target for the lecherous Roman emperor, like the time she disguised herself as a prostitute and prostituted herself, or when she hosted orgies in the imperial palace, inviting 8 men of only one type, bald, short, or fat. We will tell you all about this and much more in today's video. So let's get started. Her name was Messalina, the Empress of Rome, and we dare say that she might have been the most craziest woman of the ancient world. Welcome to our channel, where we bring you the craziest and weirdest facts from human history. As punishment, he banished her to the island of Pansa, where she remained locked up for 3 years. However, in 42, the new Emperor Claudius recalled her to Rome, ignoring the fact that she was his cousin and his valet's daughter. It was love at first sight. They fell madly in love with each other and quickly got engaged. In less than a year, they were already ruling the empire together. She was born into power. In 38, when she was only 17 years old, her uncle, the Emperor Caligula, tried to force her into sexual slavery, but she refused his advances and spit in his face. A perfect match. The strange desires of an emperor. From the start, the relationship between Messalina and Claudius was not a healthy one. Claudius never really loved her and was often unfaithful. Her thirst for power. Disguise yourself as a prostitute. Historians don't agree on whether Messalina prostituted herself or not. Not just any men. We should point out that Messalina was very particular about the type of men she slept with. A wedding night to remember. Her lovers were shocked. It was not only because Messalina was a married woman, but also because she was the Empress of Rome. Fatal consequences. Messalina may have gotten away with her scandalous activities for some time, but eventually her actions caught up with her, an infamous legacy. What do you think? Was Messalina a victim of her circumstances, or a bad girl who got what she deserved? Let us know in the comments below.